Whether you sense it or not, argument surrounds you. It plays with your emotions, changes your attitude, talks you into a decision, and goads you into buying things. It forms a real-life matrix, the supreme software that drives our social lives. And rhetoric serves as argument's decoder. Those are the words of Jay Heinrichs, author of one of my favorite books, Thank You for Arguing. Welcome to our introduction to rhetoric and persuasion. Aristotle once said that in making a speech, one must study 3 points. First, the means of producing persuasion. Second, the language. And third, the proper arrangement of the various parts of speech. So, in this lecture series, what we're going to do is cover the basics of rhetoric and talk about each of those areas, how to produce persuasion, the language one should use, and how to arrange those elements in order to really create a good, strong, persuasive message. In this first part, we'll cover the basics of rhetoric, as discussed by Aristotle. We'll also cover Nancy Duarte's visualization for persuasion, her spark line structure, and we'll talk about Coleman's 7 habits of highly persuasive speakers. Let's get started. So, what exactly is rhetoric? Well, a basic definition is that rhetoric is the art of utilizing the best available means to ethically persuade an audience. Now, what words in this definition stick out to you? An important word here is art. What does it mean that rhetoric is an art form? Well, one, it may mean that some people are naturally better at it than others, but it also means that with some cultivation and practice, everyone can master the basic principles of rhetoric. Before we can even determine what our best available means are, we have to start with a purpose or a goal. So, what do you hope to achieve by persuading your target audience? Think about the presentation that you're going to be putting together for the final assignment in this class, assignment 3. What's your goal in persuading your audience to take action, change its mind, change its opinion about a subject? What do you hope to achieve by doing this? Aristotle isolated 3 purposes of persuasion, and they all kind of build one on top of the other. All right, so the first level is to change your audience's mood. If your audience comes in sad, you want to make them happy. If they come in feeling apathetic, you want to make them feel a sense of responsibility or duty. Once you actually stimulate your audience's emotion and change its mood, your task might then be to weaken their commitment to the other side or to the opposing point of view from your own, or change its opinion. Once you change an audience's mood and change its opinion regarding your topic, you are then faced with the toughest or most difficult challenge of rhetoric and persuasion, which is to convince an audience to take action. You might be able to show an audience that there is a benefit to taking action or to accepting or adopting your point of view. But getting them to actually act, which is ultimately the most worthwhile goal of speech, that's the most difficult task. That's where those best available means are going to really come into play. Nancy Duarte, author of your text for this course and author of the text Resonate, created what she calls a spark line visualization of what good persuasion looks like. And she uses rhetoric, basics of storytelling, and Joseph Campbell's hero cycle to construct it. Check out her TED Talk on YouTube. It thoroughly explains what the spark line is. Effective persuaders use contrast. They constantly move between what is the problem and what could be the solution. This brings us into Coleman's 7 habits of highly persuasive speakers. If you haven't read this invaluable resource, it is assigned for week 3. Make sure and read it. It is very, very helpful, and it serves as a good, clear, concise overview to the basics of rhetoric. So, the first 3 habits form the structure of persuasion. They are problem, cause, solution. So Coleman says that effective speakers select a problem that is immediately identifiable with the audience. It has to be the audience's problem. Good speakers then isolate specific causes that relate to those problems. And finally, effective speakers formulate workable solutions. Those are solutions that really have to work for the audience. Once you have the structure of persuasion, you can then flesh out the content of persuasion. And this is how you actually build your argument. The three parts of the content of persuasion are authority or credibility, heart or emotion, and logic. Aristotle referred to these as ethos, pathos, and logos respectively. You're going to hear me talk about them using those terms, so be sure and remember, ethos is credibility, pathos is emotion, and logos is logic, or the evidence that you use to support your message, and how logical and reasonable it is. What holds all of this together is what Coleman refers to as the glue of persuasion, which is overcome division or identification. We'll discuss identification later on in this series. Next time, we'll cover the first three of Coleman's habits: problem, cause, solution, by discussing three different kinds of persuasive questions or claims.